it's really interesting to see how we are transitioning into a phase or era where technology is really going to push the envelope in the way we communicate with people, the way we network with people, and they are really taking a stab at what that looks like for the future, right? What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back to another episode of Autonomous Income. I'm your co-host, Deuce Noble.
And I'm your co-host, DJ. What's going on today, Deuce?
Hey man, as always, another day in this tech world. We got a few cool things to bring to the forefront today. One thing I want to talk about is there is a new social media platform, right? But not any platform. There's one that's powered by AI. These two students, two juniors from Yale, they just raised 3.1 million in a 14-day series funding. Two black students actually. So we're going to talk about their startup and what that means for the culture, what that looks like for AI and technology and just social media going forward. And then we got a couple other things to talk about, little fillers here and there. But DJ, what else you got on the books?
Yeah, and of course, like I said before, Google released their Gemini 2.5 Pro, a major tidal wave. And of course, OpenAI responded, and here comes O3. So O3, they're a model that they've kind of touted for a little bit. They set expectation for, saying that it was on the way. They released it and the benchmarks, and it's definitely a beast. New capabilities kind of baked into it. So as we'll kind of talk through that, and then also their O4 mini series. So O4 mini series. So they have the high and the O4 mini low and those things of that nature. But yeah.
And also honorable mention for this episode, Grok just released their Canvas-like tool called Grok Studio. So we can kind of touch base on that and show a little bit about what that is about and how that works. So yeah, man, let's go ahead and dive in. DJ, go ahead. Let's see. Let's open up, start unpacking it.
Yeah, man. So I don't even know where to start. I mean, I guess today we can start with what everybody's probably heard at this point, but OpenAI, their release. And I think, Deuce, you said it best, is that every time somebody comes out with something, OpenAI is just like, okay, that's cute, and here's something else.
That's exactly right. That's probably, they got somebody back like, all right, look, y'all got that? Look, watch this. You know that Cam Newton video where he's like, oh, you've been reading the playbook? You've been watching film? All right, watch this. We got something for you. We got something for you. OpenAI got something for us. What they got?
Yeah. So, I mean, so O3 and their O4 mini series, they released those. I mean, the thing is, like, I still think that Gemini 2.5 is a solid, I mean, it's definitely a solid model. I mean, it's still benchmarking high. I mean, it's still on the LLM arena. I think it's still in the top spot. Now, granted, these other models just came out, so you got to give them some time for them to work their way up with the ratings and everything that they'll be on there. But if you think about the agentic capabilities and developers using those, I mean, people are they really like Gemini 2.5. So I don't want to. I don't want to lessen its impact that I think it is still there. And what this just means is that competition is getting very tight, so, and that's why I think OpenAI is just like, let's release O3, and it's so definitely solid as well. And the one thing I do like about O3 that we'll kind of talk about is just like they've basically trained in the ability for the model to use tools. So, I mean, imagine you give the AI prompt and now it can basically natively call like tools. It has tool usage basically baked into its training. So it's more efficient with how it uses tools. So as we'll kind of look at, you just see how just naturally, like if you give it a prompt that it's going to need to pull some information or look up some information, kind of like what it does with deep research, like it'll just think it through. It is also, of course, an O series model. So it is one of those ones that's a thinking model, right? So the cool thing about it is just like, as you see it kind of work through its flow and naturally search, and then it might go back to searching if it's still thinking through some things. It's just a really solid model. And I think this one is really touted as to where, like, it's like another one of those wow moments, just with them training in the ability for it to use those tools as natively as it can within the model, but then also just like with really the reasoning, like, and just like it's thinking and all those other things. Like, and Matthew Berman, he had a really good video to kind of break down, and he'll go over all the benchmarks and all of those things. I would definitely suggest to kind of walk that, to kind of talk through like some of the newer capabilities, to go into a deeper dive with that. But I just think individuals that are using it, if you have Plus plan, if you have the Pro plan, they're rolling that out. Definitely try the model. Let me know what you think. I'm not sure if it's available through the API yet. I'm not sure if it's through the API yet. We'll link that information down, but when it's expected to be available and when that's available. But I would definitely say you want to play with the model.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I might have to check this out. I was using I was definitely using the O3 Mini High last week actually for a few things and a few tasks. And then I was using O1 and then O4. But yeah, this is definitely something, as always, like you said, OpenAI, they're continuing to improve on every iteration, right? And it shows. And I think it's really cool how you can see just not only OpenAI and their models, but everyone with every model they come out with, it incrementally gets better, right? And honestly, it's almost exponentially better, right? It's really taking off on a curve that who knows where we'll be, and it's getting to a point. It's almost every other week at this rate, maybe.
I
I don't
mean,
know, like
well, I mean, so what we're assuming now, like Matthew Berman brought this up in his video, is that we're probably seeing checkpoints. So like this might be a checkpoint from ChatGPT 5, right? So basically they'll take a checkpoint, which is like, they're still training GPT 5, which is supposed to, of course be game changing, all those things. So at this checkpoint, basically we get an iteration, we get a version, an early version of what the full GPT 5 is going to, have in its product suite, right? And be available to, and just like, it'll be the next level version of these things that we're receiving right now. So that's what's thought of at this moment, which I would tend to agree with. Like, I think that makes a lot of sense for them to do that, because it takes them a while to kind of cook the models up and just, get them out to the public and all those things. So that makes sense.
absolutely.
One thing I did miss earlier, and that I definitely want to miss, is like, if you use it, charts, graphs, like the ability to read and interpret that information, and also them building out. So like if you're a big person on PowerPoint or whatever the case is, I had it it was like one of the messages that come up is like, analyze the real estate market, right? So commercial real estate. So I did that, and it came back with some information, put it in a table for me that you can download. Then I was just like, oh, could you put it in PowerPoint, like to create some slides? And it did that, and it had the most accurate, like of usually like it's a little bit off and the spelling's all wrong and the design of it is not good, but it was super sharp. So I mean, like I said, again, with the tool uses that's trained into this model, it knows how to use those things. It knows what you mean if you're asking it to edit tools. And once again, tools are like web browser, PowerPoint, and like other tools that are kind of baked into the model for the model to be able to build these things out for you. Yeah, it's definitely super solid. I think we're really getting into now to where these things can help out the everyday person, and they have been able to for a while. But if you have not been using any of these models, I would definitely say now is a great time to jump in, because they're working a lot of the things that were issues before. So each one of these proprietary model providers, and even open source, don't get me wrong, open source is still there. I can't wait to see
Hey,
DeepSeek R2 and see what that's going to look like. I'm sure that's going to shake some things up as well. We're going to see what that looks like, but just not even that. Like Llama just came out with their Llama 4 models. Of course, we talked about last time the Llama drama and all of those
the
things. They
llama
still
drama,
Llama drama, but they're still performant, and on the
right?
benchmarks outside of like the LLM arena, which technically isn't really a benchmark, but outside of that, still benchmarking pretty well and all of those things. So what I'm just saying is, just like, long story short, definitely try these things out. I mean, they can help you in your professional career with small business owners. If you aren't leveraging these things, other businesses will leverage these things, and for their social media content to kind of grow their market out, or they have systems now that they can kind of handle conversations, outbound and inbound. So your customer service and other
Well,
things of that nature. So
absolutely, yeah. It just systems in place. I mean, and even from aside from the agentic flows, right? These things can handle, like you said, small, everyday, mundane tasks that you can, you know, take advantage of, whether it's, writing an email, writing, notes out to somebody or something, right? There's a lot of tasks you can use for this, whether, in your small business or just everyday, regular, regular, mundane life, right? Not mundane life, but mundane tasks that you have to do every day, right? So this is something, I encourage everyone to use and take a part in.
yeah. Yeah. And just lastly, what I'll leave off on is just like I was saying, for the first time, OpenAI, they're saying our reasoning models can agentically use and combine every tool within ChatGPT. This includes searching the web, analyzing uploaded files and other data with Python, reasoning deeply about visual inputs, and even generating images. So it's kind of like everything all together. And I remember using ChatGPT years ago, and it was just like you had to select, certain things. And I know they still want to get better on their model picker, because don't get me started on that, let alone their naming conventions. That's something that we definitely want to bring up, because like the O3 and the O4s, and like outside of us that stay, up to date with all the things that are going on. It's very confusing because, like somebody will call me and they'll be like, I want to use this chat GPT, and they're just thinking it's just like, I think
One thing.
it's like Google, like, they just go to one kind of
Yeah,
chat interface. And I don't think they really know that, you probably want to select this type of model if you wanted to really think on something, or deep learning as a feature. And then I know the product teams are, doing everything that they can with the UI and all of those other things. But I just think with the naming conventions that they're probably leaving some people, or people just might seem lost, or maybe not using it as optimally as they can. But,
right.
I guess people that are really leveraging it, they know. And so, like, I know what I would want to do and what I would want to pick for certain things. But I believe Sam Altman did mention that he eventually wants to get to a state where, it's one model, and the model's smart enough to kind of let you know which, sub agent
What
that it may want to
the
use, or
yeah.
whatever the case is. Yeah.
So I think it's interesting to see, along those lines where it really shows, I think, where OpenAI is going to be using their new, I guess they're adopting Anthropic's MCP protocol, or MCP, to use some of those things, right? And I think it's really going to plug and play for them to get a chance to, once you prompt it, it is I guess the model is smart enough to pick, or I guess not the model, but just the overall tool is smart enough to pick which model you need based on your prompt, right? So I wonder if their adoption of MCP is going to help with that, because you're going to be able to plug and play with a lot of the different servers and tools that it's going to search on to get that data set back, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I think really now it's getting into, on the consumer side of it, especially for hardcore or heavy users, it's getting easier for us to like really tie things together. Like all these improvements, I just imagine like with agents, like how that's going to make life a lot easier for you to just kind of convey your goal, right? And it has the tools and it has all the credentials, hopefully, that it would need to do whatever task that you need to do this on. And we haven't even gotten into like cybersecurity, where digital identity and things, and we'll talk about that on a few other episodes. But giving your agents credentials to do certain things for you as well. There's just a lot of use cases, of course, and that's why, the market and all these CEOs and companies are just like really leaning heavily into agents and building those things out, because, which also leads us into our other topic that Deuce was going to bring up about the new social media platform. So that's a good way to kind of just wrap this up. And of course, if there's any comments, anything we missed, definitely drop that down in the comments below, and let us know what you think about OpenAI's O3 models if you have a chance to kind of play around with there. The O4 series also, I didn't talk about those much, but the O4 mini models are super solid as well. They have their benchmark information where you can kind of look at how they kind of related to the O1 model, and just, into themselves as well. But like I said, if you want to get much into the benchmarks, definitely check out Matthew Berman's video. We'll link that below, as he did a great rundown, and there's, no point in kind of being a dead horse. Like, he did a great rundown of kind of comparing all the different models together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Before we get into that, though, you want a really quick touch base on Grok Studio that
Mm.
was dropped, right? Grok Studio, Twitter, or X, is releasing, and Grok is a part of X. They're released their first version of Grok Studio, which is, adding code execution and Google Drive support. You can now generate documents, code reports, and browser games. Grok Studio will open your content in a separate window, allowing both you and Grok to collaborate on content together. So I think that's pretty cool. They're, running in the same space as, Anthropic with Claude, and also OpenAI with their, I forget which model was that. I forget which model that handles the code part. But yeah, Grok Studio is here. Check it out if you get a chance. If you have the Premium X account so you can use Grok, let me know. I personally do not have that subscription, so I'm interested to see how this does in comparison to the other tools that are already out in relation to how it works. But yeah, no, I thought that was pretty cool that they dropped that, for their document creation, very canvas-like tool, right? So if you're ready to build some basic apps, it's live for all users. So if you are a Grok user, please, please, please let us know what it's like using Grok Studio and how you like it in comparison to other tools. right? I can only compare or, use my knowledge of the tools that I've used. But yeah, DJ, what do you think about Grok Studio so far? What do you think about it?
Yeah, man, it sounds good. I haven't got a chance, like you said, to kind of play around with it. And honestly, I think maybe we need to kind of do a deeper dive and jump into Grok a little bit more because Grok is still one of the top three models. Grok
It
3
is, it
on the
is,
LLM arena. Yeah, so it's not a bad
it
model at
is.
all. And I'd be remiss, I did we talk a lot about Anthropic, their 3.7 model. Everybody know because a lot of people love that for coding and everything like that. Super sharp coding model. And then now
I do.
Gemini
I personally like
2.5
it.
with coding. But yeah, Grok also super respectable. Like it's out there and it's solid as well. Like it didn't have the llama drama as I like to say, but I mean Grok is known for being more open model. Like it can talk really
Absolutely, yeah.
crazy to you if you want to prompt it to it. Like it's supposed to be less restrictive as the other models that are out there. So we'll definitely do our due diligence and kind of jump more into Grok and kind of go through there. But yeah, I mean Grok Studio sounds solid, and it sounds like everybody between Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, they're all adding on to their features set, of course, naturally and sweet, and making sure that they're all staying lock and step about like what capabilities that their platform as a whole is capable of handling. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah, no, and like I said, Grok Studio is live now to all users, so check that out if you're a Grok user. Anyway, let's transition. We're going to transition to a cool segment I'm kind of excited to introduce. So we're going to transition our first segment, AI for the culture. Burn, 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 burn. Drop some music, DJ. But no, we want to talk about shed a little bit of light on what AI for the culture looks like and what that has been. So recently in the news, there's these two Yale students, two 21-year-old Yale juniors by the name of Nathaniel. I hope I'm saying that right. Nathaniel Johnson and Sean Hargrove. They raised a whopping $3.1 million in 14 days for their
14 days.
series fund round for their seed fund round. Sorry, for their seed funding round for their social media platform called Ceres.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's an AI powered networking platform, which sounds really really cool. And like I said, these two young black entrepreneurs are very technical and very engrossed in seeing how their platform has made it, right? So 3.1 million is nothing to blink at in a world of social media platforms. We have, huge ones, right? Facebook, Twitter, or X, excuse me, Instagram, everything that's out right now. And they're really stepping into a realm that's, it's not easy to get into, right? But you can't sneeze at 3.1 million in 14 days, my dad. So let's kind of unpack what they are doing. So Ceres, from my understanding, it is a platform that is almost agentic in nature where you sign up, you get an AI buddy, so to speak, that you fill out your platform and it goes out and networks for you based on everyone with the network. You say, hey, my person's interested in building, making content videos or they're looking for a co-founder for whatever, right? And it networks for you, which is pretty cool because you take a lot of bias out of that. And I'm actually kind of excited about this because it's really cool to see what this does, right? And yeah, I'm very, very interested in seeing where they go from here, right? Like I said, this is just a big headline that I'm excited about to see, young people of color
I'm a
doing
huge
some really
fan of
cool
this
things in
idea.
tech, right?
Yeah,
So what's
like
that, DJ? Go ahead.
no, Sandy, I'm a huge fan of this idea, and just the more that I hear you talk about it, and I think about it. I remember seeing it first, when I see the articles that came out initially, I was just like, and for me, I was like, another social media platform because there's a lot of them out there, and some of them don't do as well. Some of them there
Right.
was one that came out that made a little noise a while ago, and I can't remember what it was called. The Clubhouse was it Clubhouse? Right, and you had to have like
Clubhouse. Yeah, I think it
special
was
access to it
Clubhouse.
at first. Yeah, I think it was Clubhouse, and I don't know if it was necessarily meant to be a social, but I think it was a social platform because you could get on there and talk to other people. And there's been some other things that are out there, but the more and more I think through this one, like I can kind of see where they're coming from and what they're trying to do. One of them is a computer science and economics major. The other one's a neuroscience major. Both entrepreneurs, but I just love the idea of like you were mentioning, like the agentic approach of having it kind of just go and kind of handle some of those things to help network from a, it's like a hodgepodge, right? Because I think we talked
Right.
about before, like it's kind of LinkedIn,
Yeah,
Facebook.
it gives me
Um,
kind of that LinkedIn vibe, but also a
yeah,
little bit of Facebook, a little bit of, I guess, Match, or, some type of Match.com or like Tinder, where it's not necessarily like the swipe, but where your agent, so to speak, goes out and, networks for you, right? And I think they have really a cool concept. And I think, I haven't read, the full white paper on everything they're doing, but it seems like they have a lot of questions answered. I mean, clearly enough to do 3.1 million, which, like I said, is nothing to sneeze at, right? And it's really interesting to see how we are transitioning into a phase or an era, rather, where technology is really going to push the envelope in the way we communicate with people, the way we network with people. And they are really taking a stab at what that looks like for the future, right? And I think,
I
man,
mean,
I
yeah,
love it,
to
man. Honestly, like
the
it's
point, like even with the onboarding, right? I mean, like how it's personable, like you talk with their platform, and essentially, like it makes you your own avatar, if you will. You know what I mean? Like so, and then
right,
that avatar can kind of go out and talk to other people. Like if you are like, say, Deuce, if I'm trying to start up a shoe brand or something like that, and you're, and I'm a software engineer and you're a product manager, whatever the case is, like it may link us together because we're both entrepreneurs and we want to kind of do something with clothing or streetwear or whatever the case is, like, how it can kind of handle that and recommend. So that's, and it's almost like not necessarily a Tinder, but it's like how it matches, individuals that have
right.
the same kind of
I mean,
interest
if you
or
think
whatever.
about that, just the whole dating, matching, concept, right? This is more of a networking concept. Whereas, I think I was reading in one of the articles about them that it was more so, how most social media networks, you're over there talking about yourself and, you know, putting your accomplishments and all this forward, right? Which is nothing wrong with it. That's kind of what it's for. But this one is more about the networking aspect and the human centered focus of, hey, let's connect based on what we do well or what we know or what we're interested in, whether, so it's almost like you said, a hodgepodge. Like I kind of think about meetup.com, how that's a social network for doing things together, right? But it's like my AI agent, so to speak, or avatar is doing the networking for me based on our interest. And then we're connecting and maybe building off that, right? This is still very, very early. So I'm interested, like I said, really excited to see where this goes, their story, their journey, right? So it's really good, really cool to see. So kudos to Nathaniel Johnson and Sean Hargrove. Really, really interested to see what their story pans out to be, man.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna actually, download. It is now live, so I think I might create a profile on there just to test it out, and that way we can come back on an episode and let you guys know how the platform's like. But essentially, like you're seeing here, you give it some information, and then it goes out on your behalf, and it kind of meets other individuals that might have similar interests, particularly on, if you're actually trying to, like, it looks like entrepreneurs, like this is well fit for, or if you are. And I don't know if like LinkedIn, I guess, essentially because there's like networking from that aspect as well. But I just like the concept. And of course, yeah, we'll see how it actually falls into place and, like if it expands and all of those other things. But I'll definitely keep track on this. This is definitely a good AI for the culture highlight. And I'm glad that we're starting with this one because, I like what they're doing. I like where their heads at with this. And, we'll see where it goes.
Man, honestly, and one of the things that's really interesting about that, like, not only, what they're doing, what they are doing in school as far as concepts, but I reading one of the articles, I'm really excited to see them talk about their access to some of these opportunities, right? And, being in the position that they are at, being at Yale, they were saying they're having access to a lot of networks and people that they otherwise wouldn't, right? And I think, you know, obviously there's some pitfalls in, the pools or the connections that, people of color have, but, having these opportunities, and I would love to see more of this happen for entrepreneurs like this who have these ideas to go forward and, have the opportunities to meet people who can be lead investors or go around and meet VC groups, in, Silicon Valley or whether it's Texas or wherever, right? I know Texas is becoming a big hub for a lot of VC groups and everything, right? But this is really where it's at, getting that network that they're doing is really, really interesting, right? And I think that them putting themselves out there was part of that as well. And that's one thing I love to see, right? Two young black founders. It's more than just tech, right? It's all about that representation and that access because without that, what do you have? Just another idea that you put on the shelf. So, like I said, kudos to them. Like I said, I'm Johnson and Hargrove. I'm really excited to see where they grow.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, who knows? This might be, I'm a fan of like the idea of this because I think it does like it is something a new spin on it. I don't think I've seen it the concept like this. And, I don't know what I don't know. I'm sure people in the comments might leave something saying, hey, this has been done, but I haven't seen it like this. And I wouldn't think that they would raise all that capital within a short time frame unless they were on to something. So, but, there are a lot of these AI startups, they're getting some funding. Like there's money definitely that's out here for these ideas. So I would definitely say if you surprised at like Geekdom and, some of those places like that, if they have, I would see they probably have like in incubation right now, maybe a lot of good ideas that people are trying to work towards, such as this, and collaborate on. So that might be something that you want to check out as well. If you have a local incubator that's in your town, or if you have with some friends, if y'all think through some ideas, and then if an engineer that might be able to put together something, or if or use Ceres, use Ceres, and try to help you see if it can help you connect with individuals that. Because you might have a great idea and you might be the person that's kind of, man, I have this great idea. I just don't know where to get started. And like Deuce was talking about, if you don't have access to, other Yale students that are probably brilliant engineers and, brilliant product minds and all these other things, then, it could be a little bit different to get that lift off. But collaboration is definitely the key when it comes to that. But that was good. Good.
No, absolutely, yeah. And look, if you guys are interested in more topics like this, like I said, this is our first stab at doing a segment on AI for the culture. We want to just bring more stories like this to you guys. Let us know what you guys think, man. We're just here, like I said, as always, learning and growing with you guys. So, take one down and pass it around, and share this, right? So as always, like, comment, subscribe, and share, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.